when you take an unintentionally large hit from your vape pen and then, need to start filming a video. What's the likelihood of jumping out of my life into yours? That retrellising video and repotting video was foreshadowing because I jokingly called retrellising my Hoya australis my nightmare. I've been living my actual nightmare for the last 2 weeks. Hello. Welcome to what is normally Dreams of Hoya. Today is Nightmares of Hoya. These are my co-hosts, Bentley and Darcy, and I'm headless Jacqueline today. Bentley is particularly upset because my husband is traveling for work right now, and that is his favorite person. I am ranking number 2 for him, so he will settle down eventually, but if you hear him whining or see him poking out, that's what's going on in his little emotional world. Darcy is snug as a bug in a rug in her little sling, which I got for her a while ago. I remember when I first got it, I was afraid she was going to hate it. And I got it because she had injured herself and needed to limit her mobility for a while. And now it's just become another thing for her to beg for. She loves this. And she would like to spend most her days in it, especially when it's cold. My first repotting video, I felt like it was too far away. You couldn't really see what I was doing. Hopefully this is better. We're here today, hopefully concluding what has been my ultimate houseplant and Hoya nightmare. And as I repot this, and I say repotting kind of loosely, I'm going to explain. I have my potting mat here. This is a small plastic one I got on Etsy. I definitely recommend this seller. I will have that linked for you if that's something you're interested in. There is an unreasonable amount of dirt in my carpet right now. I found this adorable little pot at the thrift store yesterday, and I literally just got done carving the bottom because someone thought it was appropriate to use silicone sealant to plug the drainage hole. I was like, well, I know what happened to the plant that was in here. So it's 99 cents. It's so cute. I haven't decided yet what's gonna go in here. This is my Monstera celtibacana. It is a lovely plant. It sits on top of my fridge in my kitchen. This is my box of reject soil. This is soil I will be dumping in my yard because it just feels wrong to throw it away. I'm not just repotting. I am removing all of the media. My husband and I decided we were just gonna go on a little weekend away. I was prepping to leave and I'm checking on my plants and stuff, and there were 2 of my Hoyas, my Hoya Mindorensis yellow and my Hoya fungi, that appeared to be suffering from root rot. Come on. There we go. Movement. Okay. Those 2 Hoyas looked like they were suffering from root rot. One of them, the Mindorensis, the leaves were super soft, so were the fungi. I unpotted both of them, and the soil that I had put them in I thought was pretty chunky, and apparently it was just not enough. I believe overall what happened is that the soil itself was really, really rich, and the nutrients were great. The plants really appreciated the nutrients, so it was getting good growth. But that richness kind of contributed to my orchid bark breaking down quicker than it otherwise would have. And the perlite I used was so small that it wasn't really effective, and it kept floating to the top of the mix. It wasn't aerating the soil as intended. After seeing those 2 plants, both of them had root rot, through to the center stem. I repotted those in de la tanks. I started thinking about it, and I was like, all of my plants are in these kinds of mixes, do they all have rot? And I can tell you now, after 2 weeks of repotting over 90 plants, that yes, indeed, all of my plants, aside from my Hoya Bella, all had root rot to varying extent. So plants that were otherwise growing, blooming, not showing any signs of distress, all of my plants had root rot. And root rot is something that spreads. Root rot is something that continues to get worse, left, to its own devices. And so I have been working on my plant collection and removing the soil and repotting all of my plants. One, I'm so grateful that I did not do here's my soil recipe for Hoyas prior to this. I may have mentioned it in passing here and there that that's what I was using, but I didn't recommend it. I didn't do a dedicated video on it or anything like that. And thank God, because the imposter syndrome is coming for me hard, man. Because I am good with plants, and I like making videos about them. I am admittedly still learning. Of course I am. I think most people in this YouTube space talking about plants, unless you are a legitimate botanist or something, we're all still learning. I think we're all kind of on the same page about that. I'm not professing to be an expert by any means, but I just started having these feelings who am I to be making plant videos when literally all of my plants just happen to be surviving while their roots slowly suffocate. I had to do a little bit of kind self-talk and get myself out of that headspace, because the reality is my plants are doing well. And I caught this because I pay attention to my plants and I care about them and I want them to do well. And this is my second to last plant. I still have to do the large one that's a few plants planted together that lives in my kitchen. But these two plants are the last ones. And I have gotten rid of a couple of plants that just weren't worth it to me. Because let me tell you, when you have to do this painstakingly laborious task of removing the soil from the roots of all of your 90-some plants, there are some Hoyas that I worked on, just 6-inch Hoyas, that took me over an hour just to remove the soil. Just a huge thank you to anyone who has posted a YouTube video or a podcast in the last couple of weeks, because you bet I have consumed it while doing this, because otherwise I'm just sitting here kind of being hard on myself. Are you really good with plants? Are you really it's just, I think we are all our own biggest critic, but yeah, I just didn't like the headspace I was in, silently removing soil from all of these plants. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube and listening to a lot of podcasts and that sort of thing. It's a nice distraction while doing something necessary. I'm still just in a really stressful headspace, because while I have done what I can do in the repotting, removing rotten roots as best I can, putting them in fresh soil. There were a couple of plants that had really bad root mealybugs. I don't know which of my plants are going to live and die and all that sort of thing, because they're all kind of in shock, because that's what happens when you remove everything from their roots and completely rearrange them. For a lot of plants, it's just shock for a little while. So several of my plants look really bad. They look really droopy, and I had to remove a bunch of rotten roots. So they have maybe 50% of the root mass that they had at one point healthily. I'm just really hoping that they all recover, because my Hoya australis you guys just saw in that retrellising video, and upon removing it from its media, it had so few roots that I potted it in a 6-inch pot. It was previously in a 10-inch plastic pot. So, yeah, I have been really stressed out. I have been really, really burnt out on this process exactly, on the smell of rotten roots, because let me tell you, it ain't pretty. It does not smell good. I have been smelling that almost all day for 2 weeks, and I am very ready to be done. I put off filming much of this process just because it just felt like I was down in the trenches, man. Like, it's been so long that I've been doing this, because this truly is just painstaking. Like looking through this entire like noodle bowl and pulling out the black rotten roots so that they don't continue to spread and make more of the roots rotten. There's no easy way around it. Like, it's just brutal. It's a lot, and I was kicking myself for not using like rooting hormone on all of these too, because I was just so overwhelmed. I was not even thinking about, proactively treating the root rot. I was just trying to get the root rot out, but a lot of them I hadn't even put rooting hormone on to try to prevent further rot, and I'm doing that on these ones now, on a few of the last ones that I'm doing. But I share my experiences to hopefully help even one other person out there. So if this helps somebody catch root rot in their own collection and save a plant or two, then that's why I'm making this. Or even if this just is helpful to normalize that even people who have a lot of plants, even people who seem like they know everything, plant issues are inevitable, Like my Hoya carnosa, my green Hoya carnosa, and my, which one? God, I can't think of it. Carnosa compacta. Both my regular green and my Hindu rope both had root mealybugs. So I had to not only remove all the soil, but then treat the roots for the pests, and then put systemic in the soil when I repotted them. It's been so much work, guys. Honestly, I have been having to do special stretches to stretch out my body, because I have spent so much time doing the same movements and in the same positions. It's ridiculous. I am grateful that this saga is coming to an end, and hopefully we don't have any sort of repeat of this situation, because God, I am tired. Today is also day 2 of me quitting caffeine again, because with my new medication, I haven't been anxious with caffeine, and so I haven't really stopped drinking caffeine. That was what bothered me really about it before. I don't know. I don't want to be drinking my calories, so I need to stop drinking caffeine. And yesterday was the first day, and I had a really brutal headache last night. I woke up feeling much better. I'm hoping that today will be the day when I start to feel a little bit more normal. Anyone else in the same boat? Let me know. Almost done. You know what else I've found is I've talked about in one of my I think it was a plant issues video, that particularly with Aglaonema, but I'm sure other plants have this same problem, that nurseries have a tendency to grow the baby plants in a plastic net pot and then not remove them from it before they put a few of them in a 6-inch pot and sell it at a big box store or to a nursery. Those plastic net pots, if left on the root system, will kill the plant. I have lost a couple of Aglaonemas to that. There are other plug pots that almost look like pantyhose fabric. It's really weird fabric type thing, and I think it's supposed to be biodegradable. I found several of those plugs in various different types of plants, Hoyas, you name it. They do not break down. They do not decay. They're almost like hair. I have been removing those from the roots as well, because within those things, like them not dissolving, like not the end of the world, the roots are stronger and can grow through it. But what happens is the seed starting medium that's within those little cups is so dense. It is like 100% peat, and that rots the roots closest to the plant because it can't get any oxygen. I don't think that that's a positive thing. I'm really frustrated that it appears to be such a generally acceptable thing to do among growers, is to use those plug things. And all it does is really keep the soil together when they are initially, when they're tiny, tiny plants. But I think, based on my experience, it can be detrimental to the plant's health, and it universally has been negative for the plants in my care to leave that undisturbed. Anyway, that's my story. I think this probably needs a smaller pot. Like, right? That just doesn't seem like justified to me. I mean, maybe it's not that much smaller, but it looks smaller to me.